Welcome to another episode of Trends and Ideas. I'm your host, Brian Egley. So-called paywalls are proliferating in the newspaper industry as publishers seek to make up for dwindling revenues on their print products. Joining me to talk about this trend is S&P Capital IQ equity analyst Westcott Rochette. Thanks for being here, Westcott.
Happy to be here.
What exactly are paywalls, and can you give us a brief sense of their history?
Paywalls are essentially paid subscriptions to access digital content. So traditionally, newspapers have gotten the bulk of their profits through advertising, but that model has been disrupted severely over the last decade due to the rise of the internet, Craigslist, and smartphones. So initially, the newspapers thought that they could counter the threat of the internet by offering online access for free and sell advertising against that viewership. That model worked initially, but with the proliferation of smartphones, the declines in print circulation and advertising began to accelerate, and it was an unsustainable model. Therefore, we shifted to a system that charged for content both online and print.
Well, how widespread would you say paywalls are in the industry?
Well, in a relatively short amount of time, they've actually become the industry standard. So, just a few years ago, even in 2011, prior to that, they thought that you couldn't charge for online journalism except for a very few specific publications, mostly like business journals. But in 2011, a couple of national players started to develop a system to charge equally for its online and its print advertising. It was met with some initial success. The industry happily followed suit, and today we find at least 300 papers in the US that have some sort of paywall, and you're finding early adoption in other markets following a similar suit. The initial success has been encouraging, and in 2011, we actually saw an increase in paid circulation revenues for the first time in 9 years.
Okay, now in the midst of this trend, is there a stock that you could recommend to our viewers today?
We have a strong buy on EW Scripps. It's ticker SSP. We actually favor EW Scripps due to its broadcasting assets, but recognize that its print assets, the outlook is also improving. They're adopting a paywall as we speak, and they also have a regional papers where they can produce local content that's harder to replicate online, and that gives a greater success for the paywall to grow.
Thank you, Westcott. For more of Westcott's views on paywalls and the outlook for newspaper stocks, we encourage our MarketScope.com subscribers to read a related Trends and Ideas story on MarketScope Advisor. It's called Newspapers Hope Paywalls Pay Off. Until next time, thanks for watching or listening. I'm Brian Egley for S&P Capital IQ.